want to talk to you today about night seasons. We all go through times that we don't understand. We're praying and believing, but our health isn't improving. Our finances haven't turned around. We still haven't met the right person. We can feel alone, forgotten, like it's never going to change. It's a night season. And in these night seasons, you can't see what God is doing. Doesn't look like anything is happening, but God is working behind the scenes. He does his greatest work in the dark. We don't see anything changing. We're still dealing with the same problem, but God hasn't forgotten about you. In the dark times, when life feels unfair, you have to remind yourself that God is still in control. And just because you don't see anything doesn't mean that God is not working. He doesn't always show you what he's up to. And it's easy to trust him when you're getting good breaks, things are going great, but you have to learn to trust him in the night seasons. When things aren't going your way, you don't see anything happening. The heroes of faith all went through these night seasons. David, as a young man, defeated Goliath. It was a great victory, but after that, he spent years running from King Saul, having to hide in caves, sleep in the desert. I'm sure he prayed, God, deliver me from Saul. This is not right. But it was like the heavens were silent. God didn't change it. Saul was wrong. It was unfair to David, but the night seasons are a time of testing, a time of proving. Are we going to get negative, live discouraged, or are we going to say, God, I don't understand it. It's not fair, but I trust you. I know you're not just the God of the daytime, but you're the God of the night seasons. In the scripture, Ruth lost her husband at an early age. He was killed in a battle. She was devastated, heartbroken. She could have given up on life, lived in self-pity, but she understood this principle. The night seasons are not the end. The bad breaks, the disappointments, the loss, the sickness, that's simply another step on the way to your destiny. The psalmist said, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Your story doesn't end in the night. The night is temporary. The sickness is temporary. The loneliness is temporary. That addiction, it's only temporary. Ruth went on to meet another man. They fell in love, got married, had a baby. Her story didn't end in the dark. When things aren't working out, you feel like you're going the wrong direction, God's not changing it, don't get discouraged. It's just a night season. It's not permanent. It's not how your story ends. You may not see anything happening, but God is at work. Dare to trust him. Keep moving forward in faith. Keep believing. It's just a matter of time before the morning breaks forth. Job went through a night season. Everything was going great. He was happy, healthy, successful, and life took a sudden turn. Out of nowhere, he came down with an illness, had boils all over his body. It's very painful. He lost his business, lost his family. His whole world was turned upside down. And what's interesting is Job was a good man. He loved God. He was a person of excellence and integrity. This would make more sense if he was a compromiser, making wrong choices, not honoring God. But the scripture says rain falls on the just and the unjust. Just because you're a good person doesn't mean you're not going to have some night seasons. You may be in a difficult time now. It doesn't necessarily mean you've done something wrong. God's not pleased with you. You don't have his favor. It's just life. You're getting some rain. Without the rain, we couldn't grow. God wouldn't have allowed it if it was going to keep you from your destiny. He has you in the palm of his hand. He's closely watching you. You may feel like you're in the fire, but God controls the thermostat. He won't let it be more than you can handle. Now quit telling yourself, I'll never make it through this, Joel. I'll never get well, never accomplish my dream. No, it's just a night season. It's not a surprise to God. He already has the solution. The breakthrough is headed your way. But Job did what many of us do in the difficult times. He focused on the problem, magnified what was wrong and let it overwhelm him. He said in chapter 7, I will never again experience pleasure. I have been assigned to long, weary nights of misery. He was saying, this is permanent. This is how my story ends. I've been assigned to nights of misery. We do an event called a Night of Hope. If Job would have been touring, he would have called it a night of misery. I'm not making light of what he faced because it was serious, but the mistake he made was thinking it was permanent. What you're going through may be difficult, but the good news is you are going through it. It's not your final destination. It's a night season, not a night lifetime. In Job's darkest hour, when he was the most discouraged, God said to him, I will fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy. God was saying, Job, it looks bad. You don't understand it, but don't worry. It's not permanent. It's just a season. I'm about to fill your mouth with laughter. God is saying to you what he said to Job. Life may not have been fair, but you're not going to live discouraged, overwhelmed by problems, burdened down by illnesses. Joy is coming. Health is coming. Breakthroughs are coming. Promotion is coming. God is about to fill your mouth with laughter. That means God's going to do something so unusual, so extraordinary. You'll be so amazed, all you can do is laugh. Your mourning is going to be turned to dancing. Your sorrow turned to joy. This is what happened with Job. He didn't just make it through the night season, but God restored back to him double what he lost. He came out with twice the cattle, twice the sheep, twice the business. He felt twice as healthy. God always makes the enemy pay for bringing the trouble. If you'll stay in faith, you won't just come out, you will come out better than you were before. The scripture says, after this, Job lived 140 years and saw 4 generations. Then he died an old man, having lived a long, good life. When we think of Job, we usually think of all the pain, all the suffering. The truth is, that was just one season. You may be in a dark time, but like Job, you're going to come through it and still live a long, blessed life. It says, after this, Job lived 140 years. After what? After the night season. That means after the loss, after the disappointment, after the divorce, after the sickness, there are still many great days up ahead. My father went through a night season. He was married at a very young age, and unfortunately, the marriage didn't work out. He was devastated. He resigned from his church and got out of the ministry. Denominational leaders told him that he would never pastor again. People said he was finished. The good news is, people don't determine your destiny, God does. 2 years later, he got back in the ministry, and he ended up marrying my mother, and they had 5 children, were married for almost 50 years. Then they started Lakewood. He pastored here 40 years, touching the world. This all happened after the divorce, after the disappointment. He thought that would sour the rest of his life, but it was just a season. He went on to live a long, blessed, faith-filled life. Don't let the night seasons convince you that you've seen your best days. You wouldn't be alive unless God had something amazing up in front of you. But in the dark times, it's easy to talk about the difficulties, talk about how bad life is treating us. Like Job, exaggerate our problems. All that's going to do is make you more discouraged, more defeated, take your joy. Instead of complaining, one of the best things you can say is all is well. When you say all is well, what you're really saying is God is still on the throne. I'm not going to live upset, bitter, guilty. I may be in a night season, but I know this too shall pass. All is well. Somebody said, well, I thought the medical report wasn't good. Yes, that's true, but all is well.